Hello, and welcome to The Climb. Today we're going to talk about, are you the problem? And if you are, how to tell if you're the problem. But before we get into that, I want to let you know a little bit about us. This is The Climb. This is the podcast where we talk to digital agencies, we talk marketing, we talk technology. This is brought to you by the Digital Mastermind Group. And that's a group that if you want to get tips, tricks, tools, you're looking for some mentorship, you want to join a peer group where you have weekly calls, a gnarly yearly meeting where we got drinks, some of the best food, some of the best speakers. If you want to grow your agency, go ahead and contact me. Visit us at digitalmastermind.com. Shoot me an email, Jon, Jon, at digitalmastermind.com. And this is live, so we welcome interaction. So feel free to comment, chime in any way that you feel necessary at any time, and we would love to hear from you. So I'd like to go ahead and welcome my my co-host, David McGraw. Dave, why don't you come out here, buddy?
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, man. Doing a noon show today. I like it. But before I go into my spiel and some of these things, have you ever had one of those moments when you're like, oh, it's like a kind of an epiphany, like oh shit, like oh man, I'm the problem here.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone has, right?
I hope so.
At some point. Right?
That's the thing. I mean, I've met certain people in my journey and my climb where I'm like, man, I don't mean to be this extreme, but I think as a kid, no one ever punched that guy in the face because he's just a real asshole. And I think things are the way they are because they just don't realize like they're the problem. And that's what I want to talk about today. And I've actually found out that I've been the problem, and a lot of these things have helped me come across that. Not all of them, though.
Okay, interesting. I want to hear more about that.
And I think I think a lot of this comes from when you, especially in entrepreneurship or people that have something they really want to happen, they're really attached to an outcome, and they're going to do as much as they can to make that happen. And there's a little bit of insanity that's in there because at what point are you right and the rest of the world is wrong? So there's a sense of rhythm that I think gets lost because let's take some of the greatest players like Michael Jordan or like Bill Belichick. And I'm not trying to sound like some elementary school cliche here, but there is a limit that they said, I'm just going to work past that and keep going, right?
Sure.
And if you take them on like a scatter plot chart and they're the outlier, it looks insane that actually occurred compared to the millions or billions of others that were unable to achieve what they were able to achieve.
But did you watch the Michael Jordan documentary that was on, I think it was on Netflix?
The Last Dance, baby. Hell yeah, that was great.
I mean, it was like backstage access to how much of an asshole he actually was to get those people to work together. Like that was such an interesting documentary.
Which the irony of that is how I don't think we got the full access because his company produced that. So there were things that he did that he would never have, right? Because this was a big legacy play, right?
Sure. But I'm sure the producer was like, look, MJ, we've got to show at least a little bit of this bad side or nobody's going to buy this. And he's like,
don't call me MJ. Call me Mr. Jordan.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to get into this. And I think let's start off with, how to tell if you're the problem, right? And how to tell if you're the problem. The number one reason that, and this is from me personally, nothing was working and nothing had worked for a period of time, right? So one of the biggest identifiers, if you want to get into the metrics of this, is that you've plateaued or you're starting to decline. There is no forward momentum, right? You are like Sisyphus, continually trying to push up that proverbial rock up that hill, and it continually rolls down. So this is one of the main drivers that you need to look at, like, okay, cool, I'm the problem, right? And when that happens, I mean, we can get into the ways that fix this, but momentum, and I look at things a lot in the sense of music. I'm not musically inclined, even though there was a part of my life that I was in a band. But rhythm, right? Rhythm, tone, all of these things to me are really important in business, right? Because if you get it with the right people, your right bandmates, right, and you have a sense of rhythm, you can make beautiful music. And if you make music that people want to hear, you're going to sell more music. So I always look at things in that sense, like, okay, cool. Are we out of rhythm? Is somebody coming in at the wrong tone? Are we out of key? And granted, I think that's one of the things that I used when I got into that situation. Nothing has worked and nothing is working. I was able to essentially look at music to some extent and figure out, like, okay, there's a problem with the rhythm that's here, and I need to identify some ways to solve that.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about everything, this is like work and life, but if you're constantly banging up against the rocks, it's constantly making friction. I mean, that's the one sign right there. Like, why life work it isn't hard. It shouldn't be hard. Relationships shouldn't be that difficult. Like, work relationships shouldn't be a constant battle. And
right. And constant. There are battles, but if it's constant, it's just like, oh, what the fuck are we doing?
Right. Because I mean, there's always things that come up during all phases of life, and that's fine. You tackle those. But if you're constantly butting heads, there's an issue, and it just doesn't make life happy.
No, that's the other thing too. Life's too short, right? And this, I think it was Steve Jobs that said, if you keep waking up in the morning, and granted, like he's a total exception to a lot of this shit. So let's just go ahead and put that out there. Right. But there's a ton of sage advice that he gave, and one of those was, if you're continually waking up looking in the morning and you just like, I don't like this, like something has to change. I think that's important for people to do that. Which, right. And for instance, this is not. I think a lot of people could use, if you absolutely hate your business, use COVID as an excuse to get out of it. Right?
Smart.
Yep. It's just COVID. There's a ton of businesses that I know that have already done this. Just use COVID. It's not your fault. You're not going to make anybody wrong. Exactly. Yeah. Just all right. Yep. The natural disaster. On to the next one. Yeah. And then, whatever story you want to tell yourself later.
Right.
And, number two is you keep changing direction, right? So you may call this pivoting. You may call this rebuilding, reinventing, still no progress. So if you keep changing direction, you keep changing your tune, these are just masks, right? You're hoping for some type of change that's not going to occur. And you're using these sexy terms like pivoting, rebuilding. Doesn't matter. It's you have no system in place and you are just grasping at straws. You are clawing at what you can, and it hurts and it's painful. And that's why I'm saying these things, because if you're in this position, we have some solutions for you.
100%. I mean, I experience this with tools. Like people that change the tools they're using constantly, and you're constantly retraining, and you're constantly having to learn new things to do what? The outcomes are the same. So it's like, why are you, and I always say it's because you're chasing some magic result. That's not coming. The magic result isn't coming. The tool isn't bringing the magic result. The person,
silver bullets. Yep. Yeah. Panaceas. Like, that's exactly what that is.
And if some process is slightly more difficult with this tool, create a process to make that easier. And if you can't solve that, the new tool isn't going to. So yeah, you're right. The pivoting, and when people start talking about that stuff, it instantly turns me off, and I want to roll my eyes and go, oh God, here we go.
I know. When I start hearing buzzwords, and we've talked about this before, guru, 10xer.
Yeah, like I want to pivot to a 10x company, and it's like,
yeah, we're pivoting right now. Or we're in a rebuild phase, and I hear all these things, and it's like, all right, I think that's the story that you're telling yourself, so you feel good,
right?
When you're just super straight up, and you're like, yeah, we're completely fucking up right now, and we need to make some things that change. Like, okay, that has teeth, that gravity, that's real. I believe now we're getting to a base foundation that something can be built on.
Yeah, 100%.
And one of these signs too, right? So if you do, and a lot of these are highly correlated, right? But if you're doing a lot of the pivoting and the changing, the rebuilding, the rebranding, we got to do all these things. We're hoping for this miraculous, cure to take place. Maybe one day it'll be right. You're more than likely going to have a poor company culture. But even if you're not doing all those things, and you have a poor company culture, employee turnover, you have infighting is present. People are just unhappy. The morale is low. You may be the problem. Like all of these other things, you really have to look at yourself.
And just the opposite of that, when you have everything working super well and your team is sticking around and they like working with everyone and you have processes in place and everything's moving, it's just smooth, like jazz. That feels great. It's so empowering. It just, man, it can fill you with so much optimism. And we have that with our team right now. Like from top to bottom, we are just, yeah, it's sweet.
Yeah, I agree. And it's all that in protecting it, right? Because you don't want to be the problem in there. You want to look at the inputs that you're putting in. You want to be careful and not disrupt your company culture. It's respect all around in a 360 approach. Like, okay, well, how is this going to affect my teammates? If we make this pivot, like rebranding, rebuilding, go into any of those things, how is this going to, affect the company? And also just the dialogue, all right, nothing has worked, nothing is working. There is no forward momentum. Like, okay, how is the team involved in this? It might, you as a leader, right, of your company, if you are the problem, what is your play in that?
What does it also say to your current customers or the customers you're going after if you're switching everything up? Like, that says something.
Yeah, you're telling them that you're a little bit scattered. You don't know. You have, like, for instance, to get into like a product standpoint, or we could even go back to music, right? So the hits that the Stones were playing in the 60s, they're still playing those songs. They're probably so sick of playing those songs, right? But all right, that's what worked. They keep doing that. Like Budweiser or Coca-Cola. Like how have these recipes changed, right?
How he's been singing about hamburgers.
Oh yeah, Margaritaville, yeah.
Imagine having to put that persona on every single night.
Yeah.
Like, because it's
your new Jimmy Buffett concert.
Yes, I am not a parrot head.
I am not a parrot head either. We got so trashed out in that parking lot. Like there was a bus, it was literally pouring tequila, and I'm a fan of tequila, off the top of the bus, like into my mouth. Like it was like fantastic. It was going all over the place. I mean, it was a bit silly, but oh, dude, yeah. Excellent. Yeah, not a fan of the music. I think he's got one song that I can tolerate, and that's
I enjoy the music. It's such an overly optimistic crowd and songs, and it's just so happy, and I'm like, just imagine having to do that every night for like the last 35 years.
I think it's even longer than that, man. Yeah. It might be 35 years. Yeah, it could be 40 years. But yeah, I mean the same. And he's like, I think he's almost a billionaire. I mean, he has his clothing line. He's got his liquors. He's got the restaurants and all that.
They're building a Margaritaville here.
Are they really? Yeah. I think they have one here. And books, like I think his books are like, a pirate turns 50, a pirate turns 60. I don't know if there's, and I could be bastardizing those titles, but I remember there wasn't a whole lot of.
Perfect, Jimmy Buffett. Perfect example of a leader that's doing it right.
Yeah, stick to the plan.
Everything he touches turns to gold.
The Midas touch. The Midas touch. I love that. And speaking of that, right, is being inauthentic. So you may be the problem if you're inauthentic, and there's some. I know some people that really believe in that fake it till you make it. I'm a firm believer that that's bullshit, and the internet killed that. I think there's a lot to be won in relationships when you tell somebody, I have no idea how we're going to do this, but this is our plan of action. Do you agree? Let's collaborate on this. Just being really genuine and straight up about that is going to win a lot of confidence, because when you're like, oh yeah, we did this, and you're going to try to bullshit your way through it. As people, we understand, like through evolution in our DNA, like we've run into this before, so people can smell, the bullshit. So I highly recommend being authentic. And also, if you don't believe in what you're selling and what you're touting, you're not going to be able to sell it. You really have to firmly believe, like, okay, we are the best at what we do. If you're, if you're going to, talk about the loves and the purposes, and just really let, that, which can be ephemeral and fleeting to others, but the emotions and the feelings of your company, you better, to your core of your existence, exude that, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to sell it. So what I'm saying is just be authentic and be genuine. If you are the shark, be the shark. If you're the lamb, be the lamb. Just be transparent and true to who you are, to your employees, and to all of your clients.
So I used to live, I was one of those people that used to live by the fake it till you make it. But I've come to the understanding that really what I was doing is believing in myself that I can do it when it came to something I didn't know.
Yep.
And I realized that because I used to tell other people, fake it, but they can't, they aren't capable, or they don't have that confidence in themselves that they can figure it out. I always felt I'm gonna find a way to do it. So but I took that as fake it till you make it. But the reality was I just believed I could do more.
And I think that's a great conversation to have with yourself, right? Where you're taking that language and you're like, okay, this is what that means to me. But yeah, like others, it's just like, oh yeah, we've built a bridge before. No, if you haven't built a bridge, don't go and try to build a bridge, because you faking it could kill people, right? And the loss and the devastation that you could do to yourself is going to be insane. And also, the lie that you have to tell to get that is not going to work. And that's part of it, right? So giving an extreme example. But I think the other side too is just really knowing, what it is that you are capable of, and the distance that you can go. Because did you ever overstretch?
I'm sure I have. Yeah, certainly. But I mean, I've limited.
But you were also able to recover from all of those stretches.
Correct. I think it's super key to be, understanding your strengths and play to those strengths, and then find other people to partner with to fill the gaps in your weaknesses, instead of trying to wear that hat and doing a shitty job at it.
Yep, I agree. Knowing your limitations.
Correct. And then seeking out really beneficial partnerships that fill those gaps, whether that's finding a company to go, dual pitch, or merge, or just, strategic partners. So the people that try to do it all, or try to wear all the hats, and you can tell they're just not good at it, that also kills morale, because you're like, I've got to work with Dave on this design project, and that's not my strong set or skill set. So
doesn't make it a joy. Yeah, authenticity is paramount in a lot of things. Which brings up the next point, which kind of goes into that negative self-thinking that you were touching on, Dave, is the mindset of, all right, that's just the way things are, right? Well, this is just the way it is. Nothing will ever change. You have that like sense of giving up on certain things. That is not going to bode well, because what you'll do is you're going to create complacency around you, and you're going to be shoddy at what it is that you do. And eventually one day you're going to get angry enough at yourself that something bad potentially could happen. So you may be the problem if you're essentially just accepting things just the way that they are. All right, this is the way it is. Things won't ever change. All right, COVID, we don't need to do Zoom meetings. We need to, force people to do in-person meetings. All right, we're being inflexible, and you're also being a kind of a fucking idiot. So don't accept things for just the way they are.
I certainly can remember a time when I did that. The team that we had wasn't working well together. Lots of complaining. I mean, I just checked out. And I remember so many times that I would just shut my door and just be like, I don't care what's going on out there. I just need to not. I was, talking about what you were saying earlier. Like I would wake up and go, oh God, I got to go into work.
Yeah.
Complete 180 from right now. And that is because the people we have in our team right now is uplifting. Everyone's uplifting right now. I mean, sure, there's the occasional, jabs. Yeah, that's fun though. But But yeah, I mean, I could definitely, I mean, I lived that, and it's a tough to break out because that's a cycle that is frustrating, and you don't know what to do. And there's, but the reality is you just start cutting out the cancers.
Yep.
It's the cancers that are killing the everything. And it's once you start down the downward spiral of morale sucks or the complaining's increasing and all that stuff, like, luckily, most of the time the cancers leave themselves. They think, your agency sucks, so they got to go find something better. The reality is they were the problem.
Mm.
And so yeah, I live that life.
But it takes a leader, right, to know that, like, okay, like, I have to take action because you are culpable in that environment if you're not cutting out those cancers. That's a big step, right? And it's crazy. Like, it's just like, all right, this has to happen. I think that's why we're going over these things, because these are pains that you and I both have had.
So many leaders of agencies will look at people or things or whatever as like, oh my God, there's no way I could lose them. It would just destroy.
Oh yeah.
Nothing is replaceable. And you're not going to put up with asshole behavior or shitty clients or, terrible.
Everything is replaceable.
Everything is replaceable. And if they're wearing you out emotionally, then that's a bad sign.
Yeah, I agree. And so for instance, we work with a lot of agencies. They're like, oh, I'm being held hostage.
Correct.
By my insert it. Developer is a big, a big suspect in that. And like, it's just, well, get rid of them. Like, they just don't. It's all this fear, all these, stories that are built up that they're unable to. Exactly. It's so scary to them that they will not do it.
Right. I mean, we just had a client that we just picked up this year that was being held hostage by his IT team and was scared shitless of moving forward. And,
oh yeah, I know.
And we just had to step up. I mean, we worked late. We had to, and here's the great thing is after we made the switch over, they actively were attacking the servers, trying to shut this business down. And we were able to detect and block and really cut them out. I mean, this IT team that we replaced because they were holding him hostage was pissed. And they were like, really, they kept everything in like scripts, like, not to get too technical, but they kept everything from being approachable for job security, like that old school IT thinking.
Yeah, like a janitor throwing cigarette butts on the ground so he can,
Right.
point out the litter.
So that's a great example. And, that could be a sign. That could have been an item to add to the list, is that if you feel like you're indispensable, you might be part of the problem.
Oh, yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Everybody is replaceable. And I think, you know what, though?
Including myself.
That teams up, tees up, myself included, that tees up number 6, right? Which I think is even worse than, a sense of giving up. It's entitlement. So that sense of, I deserve this. I believe that this is rooted in a sense of insanity. Maybe a parent loved you too much. Maybe you got too many trophies. I don't know how this occurs, in a sense of entitlement. But it's a very dangerous thing, because you remove all of the other variables that are potentially necessary to succeed or to move something forward with that momentum that we spoke about, because you think that you're magic, that you're just going to get this, that you deserve it. And to me, that's insane. It's like, no, you have to do things that are of value to others, or make decisions that work for the outcome of everybody else that's involved to move ahead in life. And if you are unwilling to do that, then okay, you're there for a reason, and you are the problem.
You know who I like to work with are the people that just know they're average, but they're going to outwork you. Like,
oh yeah,
they know they're not special, but they're going to outwork you. They're going to out hustle you. Those are my type of people. So I'm not looking for the person that thinks their shit don't stink.
I find those to be those are the scariest in a situation, because they're going to be underestimated.
Right.
And
I love the underdog.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's
But
Toyota is a company full of underdogs. Like, we are underdogs. Serious.
yeah, but I look at those as the hard workers, right? Those are the Pete Roses of of the world. Now, granted, the whole gambling thing, we're not going to get into that, but those are just the workhorses, the ones that just day in and day out they grind. They're going to do it. They don't believe that they're deserving. They understand, like, from this input, I'm going to get this output. There's no sense of entitlement. And I think those are just genuinely better human beings.
Yeah, I mean, 100% the people that are going to put their nose down and grind and outwork the other people. I mean, it's the same with companies. Like, we're going to outwork other companies. We're going to out hustle them. You're not just going to be an account that we're just going to use as a printing press and not get results for you. Like, I mean, if that's why we don't have contracts, long standing contracts. We earn that retainer every month from results. So I think that's the world I want to live in, because that's keeps us sharp.
Yeah, I agree. And with that brings up point number 7, and that is a scarcity mindset. So when you don't believe in an abundant mindset, you literally are just kind of like dog eat dog. You're not going to work with potential competitors, even know your competitors. I also think the scarcity mindset also taps into a little bit of that entitlement in that regard. But you just don't believe there's enough to go around. And what this does is it creates a very negative energy. It creates a negative sense of being. And to everybody around you, you're probably not going to pay your staff what they should be paid. You're not going to be able to connect and work with others because you're greedy. You think that you're deserving, and that's just the way that you think. And this can be changed. All of these things in here can be changed. It's not that you're set like this from birth. So I want to be clear about that. But switching from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset is just a powerful change that can have dramatic impacts on your agency as well as your life.
100% agree with this. It starts with being able to develop relationships in the industry that you once thought was a competitor, right? Yeah. In the reality, there's very little competition. The only people you compete with are the people that are on the same bid as you. But that other company that's down the street that isn't on that project bid could be a partner. Mm-hmm. And you can drag them in, bring them in to make your, pitch even stronger. So DMG taught me that first year. The first year I attended, I learned that lesson, and it was really eye-opening of just being able to understand, like, this is a room of people that I can learn and grow from, instead of these are a room full of competitors. And,
right.
How many partners, how many joint projects have we worked with now with DMG members? I mean, it's
tons, and I've seen so many across the board too with other agencies, just figuring out ways to work with each other. And that's that sense of just being that abundance mindset and being able to share and care about the person next to you, and not wanting something in return immediately.
Right. We know who specializes in what, and we bring in the specialist that specializes in that. Not try to fake. We're not trying to fake. If we're not e-commerce pros, or something else, I mean, we're pro at a lot of things.
We are, but I think that's a great point. In a peer group, don't bullshit your peers.
Oh, 100%.
That's going to just create unneeded stress and anxiety for you.
Are you going to get invited back if you're not authentic and you're not
right? Yeah, good point.
I mean, you might be the problem if your peer group doesn't invite you back.
Yeah. Speaking of which, like blackballed, right? Like that's from what the hell is they called? The Masons, right? Where they do the vote. Do you know this story?
No.
So this is cool. They do when they vote based on a decision, they put marbles or balls into a bag. There's white and then there's black. And if they want you out of the group, they essentially all pour what's in the bag into a bowl. And if there's more black than white, you've been blackballed.
Very interesting. I love stories like that. I love the origin of sayings, especially when they're like hundreds of years old.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like the first time you heard like, the rule of thumb, right? I was like, whoa. You know what rule of thumb is, right?
Was that basically like an inch?
No, the rule of thumb is back
Or
in the
just like the
day,
drinking game where the last person to put the thumb on the table has
way
to
worse. It was the width of the belt you were allowed to beat your wife with.
Wow.
That's what rule of thumb, is from.
Do you know don't look a gift horse in the mouth?
So I've been wrong about this. I thought that had to do with the Trojan horse. It had to do with dude.
What?
It has to do with the age of like horses when you buy them for like horse races, right?
No, they used to tattoo or brand them inside their gums. And so if you would know you were getting a stolen horse if you looked a gift horse in the mouth.
Got it. All right, I was way off. And yeah, dude, that's the second time.
That almost sounds a little old wives' tale-y. Like that just sounds. Now that I'm gonna have to research that after the show.
Both, yeah. I could have said like two of the wrong things that I've heard. That's another thing that I hate when somebody tells me something that's bullshit and I think it's true, and I'm like, oh, this happened to me as a kid. Somebody told me something, and I went and then repeated that information in front of like another group of kids, and like, no, that's completely inaccurate. That's bullshit. And It turns out it was. Oh, I was so pissed at that other kid.
Yeah.
Noah was his name. Noah. Hope you've gotten your life together, liar.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. Number 8. Unable to take criticism, unable to take coaching, unable to take advice, just being overly sensitive. You may be the problem if you're unable to do any of these things. Because whether it's, a team member or it's a peer, a loved one, if you're unable to take criticism about what it is that you're doing, how do you expect to function or to work at an optimum level? So that is something to take a really, really hard look at. Just, all right, am I getting aggressive or am I getting angry anytime somebody wants to just provide a piece of advice or just give input? If you're overly sensitive, that is something that you really need to unpack and figure out how to, move forward and connect with others and be able to accept information in life.
And I think the key to that is just you got to put yourself in the situation of the person that's providing. Now, there's plenty of people that provide advice in real shitty ways and smug ways and just asshole ways. And that, you have the right to be upset with that stuff. But if someone's giving you feedback, why are they doing it? Because they like you, because they want to work with you, because they want to improve the relationship. I mean, if that's the core, like that's going to the authentic part. If you're authentically trying to build someone up, accept that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's being genuine. Now, granted, there are people out there that will say things that may want to hurt you, right? But if you are, strong at a core where you believe in what it is that you do and you can take feedback, coaching, and advice, and you have people around you that you love, trust and care about, then that's not going to bother you.
Correct.
Yeah. And I've run into situations where we've presented, work in the past, and there was this one guy. I mean, he was kind of a psycho, and super like one of those people like in a laboratory comes up with all these amazing things, but he was unable to give others any credit. So everybody else on the board loved the work that we put together, but because he chose not to be involved and wasn't a part of it, he wanted to go ahead and say he hated it. And we eventually got the work approved, but in that it was just, all right, he's going to throw a bunch of negative energy, and I had to protect the team. And I think that, that was one of my shining moments. I really love some of the things that I was able to say to him and really have him understand that, dude, this isn't us. This is more about you.
Right. Excellent.
All right. Number 9. Speaking of that guy, you always have to be right. You're unable to compromise, to work with others. You're unable to connect with others. And that connectivity is important, right? A company is a collection of people, clients, employees. You have to win at the cost of others. and some of these people, it even gets a little bit dirtier. Some of those might just be on the surface later, but these could be unethical business practices where you're leveraging your employees, over leveraging, I should say, rather. You're over leveraging your partners where maybe they think they're going to be compensated for something and they're not. You're essentially having them work for free. If you're playing dirty and you know you're playing dirty, you're a scumbag, right? And that goes into this always have to win, always have to be right category. And you are a big problem if this is who you are. And granted, you can change. I don't know whether it's you finding religion. We're going to get into some of these other points. But if this is you, this is a huge problem that is going to reflect throughout all of these others and make it entirely worse.
You know what? A skill that I find is extremely difficult for people in today's day and age is to be able to say I'm sorry authentically.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
A genuine apology.
Or I'm wrong authentically.
Right. Yeah.
And you have to be able to, when presented with something else that is, contradictory to what your belief is, own it and say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. My bad, but don't just dismiss it. People don't want to connect with somebody that dismisses, because let's say you were angry about something and you were proven wrong. Whoever you got angry about, you better apologize to them and let them know that you were wrong and that they were correct, and build a better relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, people do this in their personal relationships. I'm like, make sure, like, if you're wrong, own it. I always make sure I own it.
Yeah, no, and I have no problem being wrong, and I think I think that was one of my stronger qualities, with team building was, all right, I can make fun of myself, like it doesn't matter, and I don't have to be right. And in fact, I want my teammates to be right more than I am, because that means I have the right people on my team.
Right. Yeah. Speaking of that, I just uploaded one of those face app swaps to the team with me as Iron Man, because I was just poking fun of myself. I thought it looked funny.
Yeah.
I don't know if to me, it's incredible what this technology, it's scary, right? But incredible.
Is it the Russian platform, or is this one different?
I don't know. It's brand new. It's called FaceSwap.ai or something. I'm sure it's, North Korean or something.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't ever say that guy's name right, so I'm just gonna looks like we got a comment here from Ryan Partial.
Look up "deader than a doornail." Do we know what that one means?
I don't know. Is that like X-rated? Is that going to get us in trouble?
I assume that at some point a doornail was used to hang up dead bodies.
I don't know. Oh yeah, that could be getting biblical in some senses. All right, let's jump to number 10. Not sharing in the success, not being a team player, being that I'm the reason we're here, I'm the reason this happened type of person, which is just real shitbag behavior. If you want to foster a team, you want to be the builder, if you want to call yourself a leader, which that's another thing too, it's not on this list, but if you're always calling yourself a leader and I'm the leader and everything, it's like you're acting like a child. You should maybe go play tag.
I'm the boss.
Yeah, I'm the boss. Yeah, it's like, yeah, what the hell? If you have to point all those things out, there's an issue there, and you are the problem. But if you have no sense of teamwork, then you will not have a team. Right. And you are the biggest problem, and you won't have a company. And I think it's best if maybe you're just a freelancer, or you could be a writer. You could maybe be a novelist. You could maybe write about these things. But if you really want to do these things and build a team, then have a sense of sharing in the success. And it's not I. It's a lot of we, us, and our.
Yeah, I love that point. I mean, just to give some shout outs for our team. Beth and Brandon, our account managers, do a great job of getting feedback from customers and sharing it with the team. Just today, one of our developers got a awesome shout out for a client that sends a meme in that says, "There goes my hero." Like, as a leader, I don't want praise. I don't care. I don't want high fives from a client. That's from a team. The results is my reward. So. I think it all goes downhill, and we have to have, from the top to the bottom, everyone gets the accolades, and that's why we still have a Christmas party as well, is to celebrate everybody. I'm shocked at how many companies in today's day and age don't do anything like that. Don't have a get
They
together.
don't share gratitude. They don't share like the employee of the month, like parking spaces, and
So I hate that kind of stuff. Employee of the month, I think that causes more issues than good.
It's divisional.
Yeah,
it creates separation.
You make one person happy and piss off 6 that were trying to get that.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that one. I do like where like organizations have big sales teams where they have like I think it was called Compass Club or something, big sales, where it's all right, all these people hit their sales quotas, then they get to go to like a tropical island. Like I love that sense of like going toward that. So yeah, I mean the employee of the month one, I think that could be
the difference between that one and employee of the month is that everyone can achieve a trip to an island. Employee of the month
theoretically
only this person.
Right. Yeah. This only spark parking space.
Right.
But I think this reminds me of some of the piece of advice I was given years ago, which was, and it was in sales. It was nobody goes home at night saying, I got too many compliments. Compliment and show as much gratitude as you can. It's never a negative, right? It's like, oh, now granted, I mean, if you're a sleazeball about it and you're making people creeped out about what you're complimenting, all right, that's a whole different category. But just really be gracious, with the people. And that's cool. That other company, like we helped them out and they went out and just went ahead and, made a social post about it. That's really gnarly. That says a lot about who they are, people in the company.
Right. We're working with the right people.
Yeah, which I love. All right. You ready to get into maybe some of the points on how we fix these issues?
Absolutely.
And some of these were sprinkled out through my talk there on some of the others. But first and foremost, you have to acknowledge that there is a problem and you are potentially the problem. Skepticism is one of the most powerful traits you can ever have in life, right? And whether you're in an executive role, leadership role, or anywhere else, if you are skeptical of what yourself, and what's going on when you're looking at things, it's such a healthy tool. All right, how do you get this? Like, how are you able to get to a place where maybe you can identify whether you're the problem? You can there's like 360 surveys from your staff, right? So you have them anonymous, right? Don't set yourself up for some, bullshit fairy tale. Make sure that you send out an anonymous survey where you can get that feedback loop. Because what you have to do here is you need to create a space of honesty, right? So people will, to lack of a better term, call you on your bullshit. Right? You want to be called out in the most healthy way. You want direct feedback. You want that radical candor all around you so you can continually get better. You're not going to get better if somebody's lying to you. For instance, like if you're taking piano lessons and your piano teacher is just, taking bong rips and not really paying attention to you, just saying like, oh, yeah, it sounds great. Yeah, keep doing what you're doing. There's a high probability, unless you're some kind of prodigy, that you are going to suck at a whole crazy level of just being unable to play the piano where you would never, ever go to a recital. So you need that feedback loop. So you have to create that space if you want to go to the next level. So the point number one, just want to make it super clear. Know that you are the problem and find out if you are the problem.
I mean, I think you all the intangibles are going to tell you you're the problem if you are the problem, right? Well, if you're butting heads nonstop, you're the problem. I mean, if you need a survey to tell you you're the problem, then we have other problems. I mean, that's you've got more going on than.
And I think it's that skepticism, right? So you want to like, hey, am I the problem, right? So it's like, okay, and it might not be to all the grave layers that we've laid here, right? It could be on a whole nother, all right, maybe there's like let's say that you're responsible for a certain function of the company and maybe you shouldn't be, right? Okay, so that's something that you could put out there with some of that radical candor that could be powerful.
Yeah.
All right. Number two. All right. So how do you fix these issues, whether you're the problem? Personal and professional development. So I've done a lot of this, throughout the years. Some people, some of it's like self-help books, and it doesn't have to be books. You could read blog posts on like whether it's like WebMD, they even have some, or like psychology.com or Zen Habits, or there's a ton of these. But personal and professional development. I actually went to a program that was fantastic. It's called Landmark, and that was one of the things that was pivotal and changed my life. And it had me look at a lot of these different things. One that I highly recommend, personal experience. I know there's a ton of others. But there's also this group, the Digital Mastermind, which essentially throws this show on, which is a peer group where people can be honest. I said even on one of my one podcast, I believe this was on air with Jeff Wilson from 352. Super fantastic guy. He's been a mentor throughout the years. Great addition to the group, where he literally took me aside, had a conversation with me based on my relationship, the way that I was looking at sales. He actually doesn't even remember this, but it was one of those profound moments where I was like, holy shit, I'm the problem. This is me. I need to look at this, right? So I wouldn't have got that if I wasn't in this group and I wasn't being, honest and authentic about where I was in this situation. And that authenticity with somebody else's authenticity was a pivotal moment that changed the course. And I looked at the way or my relationship with sales. I love it than anything. So I highly recommend personal, professional development groups as well as peer groups.
I'm 100% advocate of DMG. It's crafted me into the leader that I've become. Peer groups, and accept the information, accept. And in the DMG, we talk about topics like this all the time, like the emotional, the soul of the agency, right? It's not just about how do you do marketing. That's easy. You can find tutorials on YouTube on how to do SEO. How do you do that stuff? We're at DMG. Yeah, sure, we get into that, but what we're talking about is how do you power your agency through your effort, and how do you do that through the psychology of things and improvement, and when you accept that information, you grow, and that's growth, right? So self-help, growth.
Yep, I completely agree.
Great comment here from Marjorie. I love this Digital Mastermind Group episode. Thank you. Very real moments discussed for leaders to be humble and authentic. Absolutely.
Thank you. Speaking of generosity, we were talking about earlier. Yeah, sharing in an authentic way. I love that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the success of the show is all due to me. Just kidding.
Also, to be honest, being able a sense of humor, right? Even if it's just a sense of it, man. Just life's too short not to enjoy and laugh.
Do you know what a word I've been using a lot more lately is tact, right? Because cracking a joke at a time when someone's freaking out could piss them off, could make it worse. If you don't have the tact to know when to use a little sense of humor or when to know when to do a little jab for fun, then you can come off as an asshole real quick.
I agree. I also, the phrase I use for that, though, is read the room.
Yeah.
If you can't read the room, then just don't, how many times have you just seen somebody said something like, whoa, you weren't drunk? I've run into situations where I've said something and just like, oh, yeah. You walk into a room, it's like, oh, come on, guys, would somebody die? It's like, oh, yeah, Frank just lost her sister. And I'm like,
right.
Like, oh man, how would I have known that? Exactly. Yeah. So I'm not gonna, harbor that. But no, I completely agree. That tact should be a part of everybody's vocabulary.
Yeah.
Which brings up point number 3 on how to fix yourself if you may be the problem. And executive coaches, business coaches, these can be great guides and mentors. Most of them are paid, of course. Maybe you can find a free one or figure out some kind of other way. But investing in an executive coach or a business coach can be monumental. I used to have one, may consider having one in the future. Oddly enough, things got a hell of a lot better after I got rid of my coach. But I learned a ton of great things. Not trying to talk out of that point, but I know a lot of others that have had amazing results, right? And it's multiple coaches. And the power of coaching is for growth is almost immeasurable in some regards. But for instance, if you are a movie star, if you are a professional tennis player, if you are a professional, you should have a business coach, because that's the difference between people that are at a certain level that perform at a higher level, because you have somebody that's looking at all of your moves, bouncing different strategies and methodologies to go about the way that you go about your work. And having coaches is one of those things that I know for me, it brought me up to a whole new stratosphere, and it helped me look at things from a completely different perspective. So to put a pin in that, if you want to perform at an optimum level, you need coaching in some way or some form, or mentorship where somebody's giving you the advice necessary so you can move in the direction that you want to move in.
I mean, that's it's someone to call you out on your shit, right? So if you're the problem, that coach should be like, "Whoa, John, whoa, Dave." It's like, you think about it from their perspective, or they're going to challenge you on it, and you need that. You and I, act as each other's business coach or professional coach,
challenge each other a lot in a good way.
And I mean, I love the saying, "Iron sharpens iron," or you have to have that, or somebody that you're going to look to. And so I've also converted a client into my mentor. Like, our largest and longest client successfully sold his project, and it was a startup, and we built it and delivered it throughout the years. And so it was kind of a sad moment. We weren't working together anymore. We built this business off this project. I worked with him every day, and it was like, so when he sold, it was a little sad. But then I've turned him into my business coach and mentor. And I still want a relationship with you. I still want to talk to you. Help me with my business. And I still reach out to him all the time.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. You have that sounding board. Yeah, I agree. And I think that's in that abundance mindset, in realizing that you don't have all of the answers, but there is help out there for you.
Absolutely.
And the last point, this one is therapy. And I'm serious about this, right? This is also something. Actually, what led me to one of those professional development groups that I mentioned, the Landmark, was I tried to go to therapy. I've had business coaches, and the reason I've done a lot of these things is skepticism, right? You want to experiment, you want to try all these things, and I did not have the best luck. I think I talked to like 4 different therapists. I believe I just didn't find one that I clicked with. I don't believe all therapists are crazy, but I know others, right? It's a wise man learns from others. A smart man learns from his own mistakes, or person, if you want to be PC about it. And I know others that they've had dramatic results from going to therapy and sharing those things. Maybe I'm just too transparent as it is, and I just get all that feedback out of there. Or maybe I have enough people calling me on my shit. I don't know. But I know this can be a fantastic, especially if you're having psychological issues that are in the way of your success, especially as being a leader. And it doesn't matter what stage you're at. I know guys that are close to running billion-dollar companies that have business coaches, therapists that take a lot of these things into account. So if you want to go to that next level, I'm going to do a quick sum up here. First, you have to acknowledge, right? So that's number 1. Number 2, you need to find some personal and professional development, whether that's a peer group, whether that's a self-help group, whatever that may be. You need to take these actions. Number 3, an executive or a business coach. Or there's life coaches now, right? And number 4 is consider therapy and find a therapist that works for you.
I mean, the good news is that's a great list. The bad news is that the entire time you were saying it, you broke up. So nobody's getting that.
I saw a teeth grit.
Yeah. So we'll have to release that in the show notes.
Got it. All right. Well, sorry, and this problem won't be happening next week. We're getting an internet, a different internet connection, a new internet provider. Maybe we're going all out for our audience.
Plugging directly into the matrix,
directly into it, green lines and all. Other than that, I think this has been a great show. I really hope that as an agency owner, just a person, whether you work with an agency or not, that this has been beneficial to you. If you could share it, maybe with somebody else that may be the problem that you think, or maybe you're the problem and you want to go ahead and comment on this. If you want to shoot me an email, I've run into some of these issues myself, as I mentioned. I'd be more than happy to take the time to have a conversation with you to see if I could be of any help. Shoot me an email at john@digitalmastermind.com. Go ahead and like, review, comment on this show wherever you find it. And I just want to say thank you so much for your attention, letting us listen, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.